Welcome to your weekly interval. This is the Best Damn Nerd Show. I am your host, Mike From Alchemist Bimbo Jimbo, and with me tonight, Imperial Commissar Jeff Budd.
Howdy, Cowpoke.
For those watching on YouTube, Jeff is rocking an excellent Micah Bell mustache tonight. Professor Chris Davis.
Time to start the music. Time to light the lights, James.
And Chief Science Officer, Star Labs, Mark Truex.
The black spot! Got the black spot! How you doing, boys?
Doing great, Marco. Doing great. We are going to be getting into our main topic on the other side of this break, and that is going to be the Muppets. So this is a Davis episode for you to shine, as I know that they are very near and dear to your heart. We've talked about it before, both in the original run and in our personal lives quite a bit. And
you make it sound like you lost a bet.
No, not at all. I'm very excited for this. I got love for the Muppets too. I just know that despite you being a professor from the School for Gifted Youngsters, you're also a diehard, avid Muppet guy. So I'm excited for you, man. Just like Mark had the DCEU episode to really stunt and peacock around. This is your time, bro.
We all have something to bow down to, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But before we get into that, I want to, put a bow on last week's topic, which was the Transformers. Want to get, just what have you all been up to, Marco?
For myself, I started a new show because quarantine is still hot and heavy here, and I've discovered a whole new streaming service that for some reason I feel like no one is talking about, and that is Apple Plus. So Apple TV has their own streaming service, which I know has been out, but no one talks about shit of any of their programming,
and
for good reason.
Streaming services.
Yeah, and I got trapped into subscribing for a month. I had to help out my in-laws with seeing that Tom Hanks Greyhound movie, which was highly recommended on the Discord.
I don't know what
Check
that is.
It's like a naval battleship movie. I mean, it looks cool, and Tom Hanks is gold all the time. But so I signed up for this free trial.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, exactly. So I signed up for this trial, and I got conned into basically having a subscription. So I had to make it worthwhile. And not only for Muppet fans out there, do they have all the Fraggle Rocks and a new Fraggle Rock called Fraggle Rock Rock On. But they also have this series called C, as in Vision, C, with Jason Momoa, post-apocalyptic future. The entire world has gone blind, and then suddenly the power of sight is bestowed once again to some kids, and it is gnarly. You see Jason Momoa fight a bear, which is blind? Great. He's blind fighting a bear.
Kid, so
yeah. It's epic. I mean, I'm getting the feels of watching this show when I was first watching Game of Thrones. Like that kind of immersion.
Jason Momoa was on the
exactly this kind of immersion that you get from watching some of these fantasy futuristic sci-fi shows. The way that they're building this world and the detail of all the costume and set designs and everything, it is immersive. It is really good. And I can't recommend it enough, man. Get your 7-day free trial. There's only 8 episodes just to watch C. Check it out.
Blind guy fights a bear. I dig it.
Yeah. It's going to deliver on everything that the movie The Grey didn't.
I feel kind of bad for Jason Momoa because I'd never heard of this show, and I thought
you don't have to feel bad for Jason. He's doing fine.
Yeah, that's everything on Apple TV. It's looking at what original movies they have in original series are on Apple TV or Apple Plus. Has heavy hitters in all of them, and it's just I've never heard of this before. I haven't heard of this at all. And there's even the guy that plays Mac from It's Always Sunny has a show.
Rob McElhenney.
Mac.
Where he has a show where he's basically designing a World of Warcraft of sorts, and it's about his design company and the antics going on there, I guess.
Oh,
really?
But actually,
lots of
kind of
it did actually.
To see that.
That one did actually
Jason
look
stuff.
really funny. I did see a trailer for that one, and it looked very.
Is it
very
good?
funny?
Mark?
I don't know.
Now that you're locked into this subscription, Mark, I need you to report back on it.
I'm newly bound.
To
I'm
Apple
newly
Plus
bound.
Extraordinaire.
Yeah, I
Okay.
caught up on my Fraggle Rocks, and I'm halfway through the first season of C. But I honestly, man, I can't recommend it enough. Go check out C. Check out the trailer online at the very least. But I wasn't trying to make this a plug for it. I'm just stoked. I wanted someone to talk about because no one's talked about it, and it's a really good show.
Mark wants that
and so
sweet
it's
apple money.
frustrating.
Quit
It's
trying to make
frustrating.
C happen, Mark.
Yeah, imagine
We-
like the
we-
100 with a higher budget.
We will remain blind to it. Jeff,
They get Bellamy, I'm all over it.
I want to talk with you, Jeff, about what we've been up to. And you've been up to it for a little bit longer than I have, but Ghost of Tsushima
Hell
is
yeah.
going down. I finally made the time to download it and play it a little bit. Thrilled with that decision, and also terrified by it, because now all I do is I think about it, and working out of my home, it's always there, just like a sheathed katana, and I want to play more, but I don't have time to really devote as much as I had wished. But I'm loving it so far.
It's a beautiful game. Yeah.
It is a really beautiful game, and I want to throw this. We're going to talk more in depth about it on a future episode of the Best Damn Nerd Show.
Ooh, stay tuned.
Yeah, well, it's a little tease for you, tease, fellas. I feel a little, slightly misled. And look, don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying it, but and the penny
drops.
The comparison to Red Dead Redemption 2, I think was swirling around when it first came out, and you can't blame the game for people making those comparisons, but it is much more Shadow of Mordor with set in Japan than it is a Red Dead Redemption 2 style game, which
I wonder why nobody compares it to that game everybody forgot and instead compares it to that game everybody's playing.
They're entirely different styled games though. So
it's not entirely different styled.
It's a lot more, again, the gaming system is pretty spot on to what Shadow of Mordor is, like in terms of just swapping the skins of the characters and stuff like that. The play style is very similar. That's not a bad thing, because I love that game, and I loved you watching me play that game.
I did too. I feel most people compare it to Assassin's Creed, which is fair.
Yeah, that's also
James
a fair
just likes
comparison.
people watching.
That's not true. And Jeff can actually speak to that. I tried to get him to play it more. But I'm really enjoying the game though. I do feel that the game, as I'm still early in the storyline, they're not letting me play the game the way I want to play the game, which is as a samurai.
So the game is wrong, not you.
Yeah,
There's a pattern here, folks.
I was told that this was a samurai game, so I am playing as a samurai. And
you are.
Yeah, and I refuse to do any sort of stealth or assassination kills unless the game makes me. And they do make you at times, which is very frustrating. But
you're not an assassin. You're a samurai.
That's what I thought, Mark. No, but the game and its story, which is a good story, and I didn't know this going into it. I was like, oh, I'll just be this samurai character, but it's definitely heavily like they want you to become a ninja, which
you're the Ghost of Tsushima
and everything like that. What do you your sort of, as you've continued on playing it, Jeff, has been your sort of thinking in terms of how it's a little bit more on a railroad track than sort of sandbox?
That seems kind of a loaded question to make me criticize Ghost of Tsushima.
No,
I won't play that game.
There's nothing wrong with a game on rails. There's nothing wrong with
also historically ninjas were actually samurai as well. They weren't peasant folk. They were rival ninja clans that weren't wearing their colors. So it's the same people. I'm just
saying is I wanted to play sort of this upright, honor bound character. And
you're one person versus an entire Mongolian invasion. You want to just stand and fight every single one of them and hope that they come one at a time?
Yes.
Then you're going to die at the beach. All right. While the rest of us are liberating Tsushima.
Let me ask you a question.
I've liberated a third of the island. I think I know what I'm doing.
How far are you into the game?
I mean, I'm estimating I'm like halfway through chapter 2, so I'm like halfway through the game, I feel, because I think there's only 3 chapters. I mean, the continent or the island is broken up into 3 chunks. So chapter 2, which you've just begun, I don't even know if you had a chance to play today. No. There's so many quests. And what James was getting at is, unlike Red Dead Redemption, where you can kind of go off on all these weird tangents that have nothing to do with the main story, I feel every side quest in Tsushima still kind of pulls you back to the main story. Everything is related. Even when you're dealing with like bandits and stuff like that, the bandits are running amok because the entire island has been invaded by Mongolians. Almost all of the samurai have been wiped out. There's no Jedi basically to keep everybody in check, and so like the entire everything's just gone to shit. So I mean that's the whole reason why all of these side quests pop up and everything, and it's kind of just you. It's you and a few other people that you start collecting along the way, which I think is really awesome. You're kind of starting like this counterpunch revolution, which is just amazing. And there's a lot of really good characters. The cinematics are great. I like the different armor choices, the sword styles, the different fighting techniques and everything. I think it's really elegant. And I've gotten so much better at the parry now, and it is my preferred way to fight, like when I actually have to stand and fight somebody. But I do love the assassination and sneaking around. It's so much fun going into a Mongolian camp. And I wear full white Ronin attire, the death headband, and then like the white mask, or I wear like one of the creepy masks, and I'm just like this angel of death. I'm the ghost of Tsushima. And there's nothing more satisfying than killing every single Mongolian, and then you just have to fight the leader. He's got no backup. It's just him by himself. It's like, oh my God, yeah, all of your men are dead. I've been killing them this entire time. It's so cool.
It is a phenomenal game, and like you said, the characters are great. It is beautifully rendered, and the story is really compelling. So I'm looking forward to getting more into it. And I do actually like that all the side quests tie back to what is going on in that world. And, in the story and everything. Like that's very well done. Davis,
yeah, it's not a criticism of either game. Red Dead Redemption, it works better that way, and then different. With Ghost of Tsushima, it makes sense that everything is linked to that story, and it makes sense that we're not playing a gray or ambiguous character like with Arthur Morgan, who is
correct.
a criminal. It's like, no, this is a samurai lord. Maybe he's doing things that kind of go against his culture and what he was brought up to believe, but he's still doing the right thing, at least for now. I don't know if he's gonna break down or get weird. We'll find out.
I did get a kick out of one of the cutscenes where I was criticized for how I was comporting myself and how I was doing things. It's like,
I know
that's not how I've been playing the game.
Yeah, see, I was playing it that way, so it made sense. James was not playing it that way, and so it's like, what are you talking about? I only killed that guy because I had to.
I've taken the harder path.
James, you sound like Tim playing Battlestar Galactica board game. Just
I'm method with my game. I would like to be an honorable samurai. I know what they're going for.
But Jin Sakai is not necessarily an honorable samurai. Well, I mean, he's honorable. But
he's not your typical samurai.
Well, not anymore.
Yeah.
If you pull the Cylon card, play the Cylon.
No, you play Gaius Baltar. I get it. But Davis, you have been dipping your toe into the Dungeons and Dragons world. I want to get what has that been like for you?
It has been. I haven't probably gotten into this world since we did it on the show years ago, and we've been talking about it ever since. I know you and I, James, we wanted to get something going in the Bay Area, but just never
you
transpired.
Left just when it was getting interesting.
I left because our group actually started doing it up here. So, no, we just started about a month ago, and it's been great. There's a group of 5 in our party plus the DM, so there's 6 in total. And I gotta hand it to our DM. He has created a complete world for us. He's not going by any book, not going by any of that stuff. He's just created maps, characters, all that kind of stuff based on our region in Northern California, and he's just like kind of giving it different names, but just making it more personalized. And it's been a lot of fun. And then everybody's character is kind of personalized around like where they're from in the area.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so it's definitely.
Tell us about your character, Davis.
My character is a mountain dwarf bard, not something you see all the time.
Not your typical dwarf.
Not your typical dwarf. I love it.
Usually, I would play, some sort of like meat shield fighter, like going in, heavy-handed and just taking the brunt brute force thing. But this time, I just wanted to try something different. Also, I knew the rest of the makeup of our party, and it seemed like we were going to need a little bit more of the spell support side of things. So that gave me even more of a push to go in the bard direction. So it's been a lot of fun though, and just we've still been able to get together as a group, but we're just keeping our distance and doing that whole thing, and we're getting.
So do
through it.
bards have magic?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that like a staple of theirs? I thought they're like minstrels.
They have like
They
their
are.
musical magic that sort of goes along with it. It's a much more limited sort of spell casting ability than like say a wizard or a sorcerer has, but it's a lot more sort of support, buffing, debuffing, stuff like that can really change the tide of a battle.
Yeah, and so like
It's cool. They're very cool characters.
I got a dwarven drum, and I have one on order that I'm gonna start bringing and playing and.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
That's incredible. That's really cool.
Our friend in the group got a ocarina for his character. Yeah,
Nice.
had it last time. So yeah, everybody
D&D jam sessions.
yeah. We're gonna by the time we're level 10, which we're level 3 right now, we should be able to get some songs together.
Do you have a standout moment so far?
I will say just something. Our group is very they want to inspect a lot of things, which is cool because we spend a lot of time in town.
The lore.
Yeah, and we're like asking everybody questions. We're getting a little bit too deep sometimes, I feel like, so we get a little bit bogged down. But it's it's bringing everything up, and our DM is like, okay, we need to move past this. So he kind of gets us in the right direction. And then we kind of breeze through the fights as they come along because everybody seems more into the lore, which I love. But one moment was we just came across this goblin village, and our DM had thought that we would just kind of fight through these guys, and instead we had took prisoner one of our guides that the goblins hated because he was picking them off through the forest and the outliers, and so we used him as leverage to speak to their leader and get them to be on our side to take down this hill troll that was kind of controlling how they operated in the forest.
That's awesome.
So we got this whole village of goblins to help us out take down this hill giant, and it was a lot of fun.
That's sick. Well, I look
Cool.
forward to getting more updates from your D&D campaign. Before we hit the break, I want to put a bow on the Transformers discussion from last episode. Mark, anything that you want to hit on that maybe we ran out of time to discuss, or any sort of reaction that you got? I've got a couple things, but I'll kick it over to you first.
I had an absolute delight talking Transformers, and my wife even checked out the episode to listen to it, and she's like, I didn't realize you actually liked Transformers. Because I've never made her sit down, which if you know my wife, I can't make her sit down and watch like Transformers the cartoon. She's a very strong woman, and I'm a cowardly man. So
Yes.
It was just such a delight to get to go through
Real
that,
Kermit.
and the movie. I want to go back and watch it now. So now I think with that conversation is I can go back and show that with my daughter and get my wife to sit in on it.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So I'm actually getting really pumped for that.
The one thing that I will say, one of the reactions I got was that I didn't know y'all fucked with the Transformers like that. In terms of just, I think our passion and our love for the topic really came out, which I was very happy about. I look forward to discussing them again. If I had anything to do over again, we got so passionate and so wrapped up in some of the nostalgia conversations. I would have liked to have talked more about the War for Cybertron trilogy, but when the next chapters come out, we will definitely dedicate a lot more time to that and how that story sort of develops. And as we discussed, there's a lot of exciting things like Beast Wars that are going to be getting weaved into that storyline. So just wanted to do a quick little wrap up on our Transformers discussion. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will be getting into the Muppets, everyone. Yay! And welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. Bimbo Jumbo here with Jeff Budd, Mark Truex, and Professor Chris Davis.
Yay!
The Muppet expert here on the Best Damn Nerd Show, if anyone is one. So you're laying all cards out on the table. Everybody on this podcast tonight has some shape or form of affinity for the Muppets. It's why we're doing this. But Davis certainly is chiefly among them. However, those that are not on the episode, I did get a certain question that was ringing in my ears as we were preparing for this one, and it was almost verbatim from the other members of the show. just simple question. Why are we doing a Muppets episode? And so, Davis, I put it to you. Why? Why the Muppets?
Well, as our listeners know, anything that you're passionate about that you might be embarrassed to tell a date on the first couple dates could be deemed as nerdy, right?
Yeah. Okay, I get where you're going there. I didn't.
I don't see why you're ashamed of the Muppets.
Yeah, that was kind of my take. Why are we embarrassed by the Muppets?
Well, I don't think we're going to talk about it on the first couple dates, though, guys.
No.
Kind of weird.
I wouldn't lead it.
What's your favorite Muppet Babies episode?
That's a great topic of conversation, though. So. No, but
I mean, that's how you find marriage material, but still, I don't think you lead with that. Yeah.
I don't think I could exactly bring up my Muppet toy collection on the first
Which
couple.
Chris does have a really good one.
And for the people
Chris
watching
is like the
on
40-year-old
YouTube,
version.
yeah, it's weird. I got into this phase for a moment,
The
and
poster of Asia.
this, for those watching on video, it's the Palisades toy version of series, and it's like 10 series of 4 figures each, and I have all.
Okay, so
mint in box, I love it.
Mint in box.
Sticky Pete's proud.
But I will say, like, where this comes from for me, it stems very early in my childhood. I was 4 at Walt Disney World, and they had the 3D Muppet Theater that just opened. And it was wild. And as a kid, 3D then, it just took me to places I never thought I could as a kid. They would, I remember Leland, if you know the character, he has all the fish boomerangs. He'd throw them at you. They'd be flying at you, flying
Ninja
back.
Turtle toy.
Yeah.
So they made one of them.
They had Statler and Waldorf up in their balcony, and it was just everything seemed so real, and that was like my first moment with the Muppets. And since then, the Muppet Show was before my time, but it still was being rebroadcast at that time on certain channels. And then the Muppets Tonight came around when I was about 10. So. But my parents were always big on it. My mom always loved it, so she kind of passed that down. All the guest stars that are on it, just it's so big in pop culture. Like the Muppets are so much bigger than the TV shows and movies, some of the other little gimmicks that they've done. But they are celebrities as puppets, as Muppets. It's insane that they are almost treated, and it's not like Mickey Mouse. It's not the same. They're treated as people almost when they go into interviews, and people actually talk to them like they're human beings. And it's just something very different about them that isn't like any sort of other animatronics or caricatures or anything like that. They're just more so ingrained, I feel like, into our culture.
You won't like this, Davis, but the comparison can be made in terms of sort of the Muppet characters being like taking on a life of their own beyond just the confines of their TV show. Even though they are fictionalized characters, they have this love that goes beyond, the show, that is very similar to, like, say, a Hulk Hogan or a pro wrestling kind of thing. They know that these aren't real characters, but they have become so ingrained that, yeah, you're right. You're right, Davis. Muppets are like pro wrestlers. It's very interesting that you would make that point.
Don't you ruin this for Chris.
Compare that to wrestling. I swear to God.
There's some Muppet kayfabe.
You cannot take this from me.
Yeah, Kermit the Frog, very much so the Vince McMahon of the Muppets. I guess that would be Jim Henson.
Jim Henson is Vince.
Yeah, Jim Henson.
Except for that he and his Hulk Hogan got along. So.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, they go up and down. But you're right. I mean, the Muppets
I could have stuck my hand in anyone's ass and made them a star.
But you're right. The Muppets, in terms of the why the Muppets, they really were, and in going back and looking at just all the things that they've done, a phenomenon. And when you think about the way that they ended up being presented with all the celebrities that they got on their shows over the years, all the spin-offs, and the fact that their impact is still going on today. Maybe it's not as strong. Mark, you could probably speak to that better than I can in terms of like what, if there is any sort of Muppet impact for children. I mean, I know they have stuff out there. I don't know how sort of prevalent it is there for the kids.
I want to say, like, in the last decade, Muppets have definitely grown up quite a bit, because you have this audience that grew up with them already, and now it's like this almost third generation with how long the Muppets have been around since I think Kermit first showed up, was it like late 50s, before actually being Kermit the Frog, and by the 70s on Saturday Night Live actually became a full-fledged character. And at this point now, instead of it being like such a children's program, it's a family program more so. And so you had a show like The Muppets on NBC that came after the long fame of the Jason Segel movie from, what was it, 2011, 2012, which was very adult. I mean, it was basically The Office with Muppets. And it was super dry and hilarious. I had such a blast watching it, but I don't think I could make a kid sit down and watch Kermit in that environment, to be perfectly honest. And then I know, what was it, Muppets Most Wanted was just a couple years ago too. So I mean, there's still content coming out pretty prevalently, and Muppets have been redefined with there's a newer Muppet Babies that's, I'm pretty sure, is still on the air right now. It doesn't have the soul as the original. We can get into that, but Muppets are still going. I mean, how can you not like a Muppet? I mean, it's a puppet with real soul behind it. That's how I always felt about these creatures and these characters. And it's just like, as Davis was saying, people have interviews with and things like that. Have you ever seen someone have like a fake interview, so to speak, with like someone in cosplay being their character? Like, someone dressed up as Superman. Yeah, I'm Superman. Like, fuck off. Like, no, that's Kermit the Frog right there. I see this guy dressed up in black hiding behind the chair, but this is Kermit. That's just, his worker. It doesn't matter. And I think there's something very tangible about that makes this suspended belief, and Muppets are for dreamers, and I think it's something magical that we've all held on to.
There is like a level of buy-in that those characters get when they do these things. It is, I think if it were other, and I've seen it, I've seen certain other type characters go on these shows, even pro wrestlers and stuff like that maybe don't get the same buy-in from the talk show host or whatever if they want to stay in character or whatever. But it's like, I'm talking to Kermit the Frog right now, and they have fun with it. And I think because they've been on for so many decades, most of the people talking to them in some way, shape, or form, grew up with the Muppets in their life. It's crazy how long that they've been around. And I know we're a big part of all of our, childhood and stuff like that. Jeff, what was sort of your main experience with the Muppets as you were sort of growing up and everything?
I mean, my introduction was definitely twofold growing up in like the late 80s, early 90s. It was Muppet Babies, the original series, and Sesame Street. But just to build off of what you guys said about people treating them real, it was Celebrity Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and Kermit was one of the celebrities. And he was sitting in the chair, and he was answering the questions. And then I'll always remember this because it stood out to me so vividly. After they're eliminated, they didn't leave the area. They just sat in the audience and were hanging out. Kermit is sitting in the audience. Alec Baldwin is sitting next to him, has his arm around Kermit the Frog, and is talking to him. They don't have mics on. He's just talking to the fucking Muppet. And that's when I realized what a lunatic Alec Baldwin was.
Loves him some Muppets. Alec Baldwin
it was such a great visual. Kermit he's a peer. All right. He just is a celebrity along with the rest of them. And then Kermit, just hamming it up like everybody else is like, what is the answer? And all this, and having to ask the audience. And
was it with Regis?
It was so great. Yeah, it was back when Regis was doing it. It was like when Norm Macdonald made it all the way to 500 grand.
I remember that. Yeah. Oh man, I'm gonna have to go back and
Yeah.
watch that, because I can imagine Regis Philbin interacting with Kermit the Frog sounds
Be-
like amazing stuff.
Because at the time, that's when they had that primetime show on ABC. This was like the very late 90s. I think it was that Muppets Tonight, or it was
That's
something
the Muppets
else
Tonight.
like Muppets Tonight, which that was the last like Muppet show I watched, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a cool show, especially because Kermit had kind of like graduated. Like he was almost like beyond the rest of the show. He was like delegating things, but he was still also like one of the stars. And so I always appreciated that. I thought it was really cool. So he wasn't like as stressed out anymore as he was like with the original Muppet show. He's like, it's totally fine. Don't worry. And I forget the name of the other guy who's doing it, the catfish guy, but he was like completely freaked out. He wanted to make sure all the ABC executives were happy. It was hilarious.
Clifford.
I remember an episode, it was like with Garth Brooks, but he didn't want to do any music. He wanted to do Evel Knievel stunts with Gonzo, and they were worried about like him getting injured and like if there was the insurance and stuff like that. Like it's stupid shit like that. The Muppets are fun.
They're super fun, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go back and watch that.
I recommend it.
Yeah, that's just like, but Kermit, he's a legit showbiz success story. He's
He
had his
is
ups
a
and
huge
downs.
celebrity, dude.
Yeah, it's Kermit the Frog.
Yeah,
it's great.
He has a star on the Walk of Fame,
as he should.
Yeah, he's a big deal.
As he absolutely should. For me, it was the Muppet Babies, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But also, like the original Muppets movie was a big deal. I remember that was definitely one that whenever I would go to like my grandma's house, that was a movie that we watched a lot over there. And the Muppet Caper was another one that we were always watching. So that was definitely sort of my earliest impressions of them, was more from the films, and then then seeing the show reruns and stuff like that. And I think one of my early introductions to Elton John that's like burned into my memory is him playing Crocodile Rock on the Muppet Show, and the Crocodile Muppets is like this just over the top performance. And it's on the Muppets. I mean, when you think about like the star power that show got, and they're puppets, dude. Like they're
Muppets.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. They're A-list celebrities going on and playing this show sort of serious. We hadn't seen anything like that. It's pretty wild, just the level that they got to with that. But love the Muppet Babies. I think that is sort of the sweet irony for me, is that my favorite thing about the Muppets is the Muppet Babies. It's animated, it has nothing to do with sort of the puppeteering of it, but it's just that universe of characters. But Mark, if you want to touch on more, what sort of your favorite things that got you like into the Muppets when you were coming up?
So for me with Muppets, it's the movies. Essentially though, like the key movie for me, Treasure Island. Muppets Treasure Island. I remember going and seeing it in theaters, and ever since, that's the quintessential. Just Tim Curry did a dynamite performance in there. Jim Hawkins and Gonzo and Rizzo on their adventures on the high seas, swashbuckling pirate. It had it all, and it was so very good. It's something that even when I worked at Blockbuster, that would be something on loop. I would put on all the TVs, and someone would always take it, and I'd have to turn it off. It made me mad.
Well, you're a good salesman, Mark. You're too good for your own good.
I know. It always hurt me in the end. But Muppet Treasure Island to this day is like one of my top 10 movies. If you wanted to ask like influential things for me, Muppets Treasure Island. Absolutely. And then Muppets Christmas Carol. I mean, it is almost like the definitive Christmas Carol rendition. If I'm going to watch it,
it's the only one.
I think it's my favorite. Yeah,
it's not the Jim Carrey animated. It's not the Kelsey Grammer. It's I don't know. There's some other ones like
there's a lot.
Yeah, it's a classic tale.
Christmas. All the rats like working. It's like we're cold. It's like this is our island in the sun.
we're gonna get more into detail about some of the successes of the Muppet franchise and everything like that. The original MCU, the Muppet Cinematic Universe. But Davis, I want to talk more about your collection though, and sort of, because that is something that I've always, once I found out about it, if I were your date, Davis, I would be fascinated by it. How did you get into this sort of Muppet collecting? I mean, you might be a little terrified, and like, how do you sort of go about all this stuff?
So I got into it, in high school, which is an odd time to get into this, because especially then I wasn't like secluded or anything like that, but it was just like I enjoyed collecting things as I was a kid, and for a long time it was cards. Then that kind of went out of style, and then I just never had anything. And I went into like a Sam Goody or something like that, and I saw these, and it just struck a note. I don't know what was going on in my life or why it did so much, but like Mark was saying, Muppet Christmas Carol is something we watch every Christmas, and it was around that time, and I think that's just what started it. And I saw one of the Kermit figures, and I think it was Statler, and I was like, these are great. They just look great. They really did the characters justice. They were just made well. So I was like, these are cool. So I bought a couple and kept on buying them as the new series came out, and I kept on looking up when the next series was coming out, and then I rushed to the store and get the new 4. And the one thing I don't have of these series is all like the play sets. So there's Pigs in Space, there's the Swedish Chef Kitchen, there's the Backstage, and there's one other one I don't have, but this is the one I do have for the video and viewers. This is the Dr. Teeth and Electric Mayhem stage that comes with Animal.
And now, how much was that? Is that your crown jewel? And
like,
what's the most that you've spent on one of these?
Put this on record.
Like when it came out, how much is it, or how much did I spending?
Both.
When it came out, this playset was, I think, $59.99. I spent at Comic Con, I spent $200 for it.
I remember when you bought that.
I was like, this is my big purchase. This is what I'm getting. I've always wanted it.
So that's the crown jewel of your collection, then.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
Dude, open that bad boy up.
I'm gonna have to at some point, man. It's good.
Yeah, and let the dog chew on it.
And do it on the Patreon.
And I will say, a lot of these figures now, some of them, just by themselves will go for over 100. So just because they didn't make a ton of them, especially a couple of them, and so some of them are pretty rare.
Now, do you go back? Are you like an eBay hunter for this stuff?
No, I haven't. I look every once in a while at the sets. I don't have alerts up or anything, but that's really all I'm missing. There's a couple other variants I'm missing, but I just want the original. I don't want the variant.
Yeah, good man.
So
what's the variant like? Like Kermit, Kermit with jacket.
Yeah, no, it's like so.
I'm a kid of the '90s.
There's like the original Kermit, and then there's Kermit in like his tuxedo show attire. So that's like one of them.
I kind of like that actually. You should get that variant.
So, but there's a ton. There's like a ton of these variants that came out. I was like, no, I just want the original, and I don't need to go overboard.
How much do you like the Muppets, Davis? Are you a fan or not?
So all of these will be up in a future house eventually, but most of them are.
Do you plan on opening them?
I am so close to opening Statler and Waldorf because I want to build them a balcony and put it above my desk so they're judging me with everything I do.
I like that.
But there are a couple other like Christmas ornaments I've seen that have like that exact thing, so I don't need to build it and I don't need to open it. So I think I'm probably gonna go that route instead.
So overall, what is your satisfaction level with sort of you deciding to make the Muppets your collection of choice?
I mean, it's unique. You know, I will say that. I don't know anybody that has collected this stuff.
That's why I'm legitimately interested in it.
and I actually really like it. I mean, it does mean a lot to me because it brings up so many childhood memories, and not just childhood memories, but every year, like I mentioned, like we sit down as a family, watch Muppet Christmas Carol, and so it's just like that means a ton to me and means a lot. Like thinking back on our time at Disney World as a kid, just sitting down with family, really, and just laughing because my parents liked it. I liked it. It was something we could all enjoy together. Like they had, there's plenty of adult jokes in all the Muppet versions that you can go back and get now. So
yeah.
So
yeah,
that meant a lot.
If anything, my appreciation for the Muppets proper beyond Muppet Babies has only increased as I've gotten older. It's like, oh, that was for mom and dad when we were watching, not for me. But so I think that we've established the why, the Muppets. They were a pop culture phenomenon. They've had incredible decades-long staying power, and we have a lot of love and nostalgia growing up for them. And we're going to get more into that, what we really love about the Muppets and all the many properties that they've put out. On the other side, we're talking more Muppets on the Best Damn Nerd Show.
Waka waka!
Welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. Bimbo Jimbo, Jeff Budd, Professor Davis, and Mark Truex, and we are talking more Muppets. Davis, during the break, you were checking out some prices on maybe adding to your collection there. What can you? I'm not going to let that pass.
Come on, man! All right, I will say, this opened, plus the rest of the band members.
Assume that people aren't on the YouTube.
Oh, I'm sorry, listeners.
Theater of the mind.
Then get on
Dr.
YouTube.
Teeth and the Electric Band set with Animal, plus the other members of the band opened. This is open, mind you. Going for $600. So
how many
that's
figures
pretty good. That's 4
5?
other figures. 4 other figures plus the band set. So 5 total.
What were you saying during the break, that one's gone down to $40?
No. I thought it was, but it was the new one that San Diego Comic-Con dropped this year. It was a new band set. Not as good.
Was 40, but it
Comic-Con
was
2020.
Yeah, it was the Forgotten Comic-Con.
Hey, I had a blast doing Comic-Con at home with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
have
there
a
was
blast
also
with you guys.
Should have hosted some type of Muppets panel.
I realized there was one figure on there that when I was just looking that I do want now. So I was looking. It was Sweetums, Mark.
Sweetums.
And it's huge. Like it's like Sweetum size compared to these other figures, and it's going for 120 plus.
Get them. Get them.
just for Sweetums.
Sweetums is fantastic, man. You gotta. How do you not have Sweetums?
It's going for 120.
He was like one of the special like.
He's the biggest Muppet.
He's a big Muppet.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a regular figure, so.
All right. Well, I want to keep it on some of the best of the Muppets here as we're getting more into this topic, and I'm gonna throw out my 5 best Muppets list. You guys can add to it, criticize it as you will. For those of you that are just listening, Mark and Jeff Budd both furrowed their brow, leaned in very sternly, getting ready to tear me to shreds here. So
it's just you don't have good taste, James.
Let me take notes,
and we're worried about it.
I think I got pretty good taste in Friends. So, yeah, maybe a little dicey.
That's kind of where I'm coming from. I don't think so, but yeah, go for it.
Not this time. It remains to be seen how you guys treat me with my completely arbitrary top 5 Muppets of all time list with no real rubric in place. But number 1,
are we going? Hold on. I want to know.
You go 5 up.
What happened?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you start at 5. You start at 5.
All right, so already off the bat.
Is this influential? Is this what you like? I want to know where we're standing on this.
I'm doing a
justify your
everything. Picks. Yeah, so my justification will be, certainly you'll see when I get to number 1, is that, I think the most sort of iconic of the Muppets.
Kermit, right.
And also my personal favorite, my personal taste does come into play there. Yeah, well, sorry. So at number 5, and this is a bit of a cheat, so you guys will be upset right from the beginning here. But number 5, I have Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem Band is clocking in at number 5.
That's more than one Muppet.
I mean, they are a set.
They're going in as a group.
But Animal could hold.
Animal is on his own.
Animal holds his own though. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been Animal alone would have been my 5 pick, if not for them. But that is my number 5.
It is cheating, but I will allow that.
I figured.
I guess if the Muppet expert is going to allow it, I don't have much of a choice.
The more Muppets in this list, the better, Jeff.
Yeah, I figured if anybody and also I didn't take.
Go back to
eBay,
eBay, Chris.
I didn't put any Sesame Street centric characters on.
Oh yeah, because they're not influential or iconic.
But that's not why, and that's if I did.
Didn't
Cookie
Big Bird
Monster would
open
be
up
on this
trade to
list.
China? Isn't that what he's...
All right, number 4.
It was him or Nixon. I always mix those two up.
Number 4, we have somebody who's much maligned as a Muppet. He has the comedian extraordinaire of the group with Fozzie Bear coming in at number 4, and he got shit on a lot during his time in the Muppets in terms of his comedic stylings, but you gotta love Fozzie Bear, and I think that he is funnier than a lot of actual human being comedians. T.J. Miller comes to mind in terms of just somebody that Fozzie Bear. Like, have you watched T.J. Miller's stand up? Fozzie Bear getting shit on by Statler and Waldorf is so much funnier than T.J. Miller trying to do stand up. Like he's probably the worst comedian I've ever seen. And so, what, Mark?
I like him in Properties. I don't know
Sure.
if I've actually ever seen
as a
his
stand-up comedian,
his stand-up.
He is terrible.
Fozzie's stand-up sucks. Let's be frank. Fozzie is great, but his stand-up is horrible. That's the joke.
Yeah, he'd fit right in with the LA scene. Like, I mean, almost everybody who's a stand-up comic on the West Coast these days is worse than Fozzie Bear.
Yeah, look, he's better than Carlos Mencia. He's
Gabriel Iglesias, that fluffy guy, Amy
Fluffy's
Schumer.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's better than John Oliver.
He's better than Joe Rogan and all of his reject friends.
Well, yeah, Joe Rogan's not really
Joe
a
Rogan.
comedian.
No, because everybody who's a Joe Rogan fan says the same thing, and they always have like this caveat. They always have like this explanation. You can't just say he's funny, which means that he's not. Joe Rogan has never made anybody laugh intentionally. Let's just say it.
You're probably right.
He was like the 6th funniest person on news radio.
I was just going to say, he wasn't even really particularly funny. That I appreciate him tearing down Carlos Mencia's joke thievery.
Yes, but that's not funny. That's just him being a crusader
service.
in comedy, which is fine, whatever. Joe Rogan has an interesting podcast. It is not a funny podcast. And as far as everybody he thinks is funny, they are atrocious. And Fozzie Bear would either fit right in with that group. He'd probably be on Rogan's podcast all the time, or he'd be too good for them. I don't know which it would be.
Fozzie is like a quintessential hack. That's his whole shtick as a character.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, Mark, and everything I said stands.
Waka Waka.
He stays in his lane, Mark.
Waka Waka was his, Shucky Ducky Quack Quack? Or hamburger. It's like, and then Waka Waka. There are comedians that essentially say Waka Waka.
I will argue that Waka Waka maybe is the most iconic comedic catchphrase there is. And, the decades upon decades that Fozzie Bear has been killing it on the comedy scene. One thing
he plays big, like with college crowds and stuff. I mean, that's where the money's at, so he's fine.
Oh, he's better than Dane Cook. I would like to see Fozzie Bear on one of like the comedian podcasts, though. See, that we were talking about how Kermit the Frog would be on like with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and everything. I would love to see Fozzie Bear on put him on Theo Von's podcast where it's just super awkward and weird. But if Theo Von played it straight, I think that'd be hilarious. I think that's the next level in Fozzie's career and for the Muppets. But keeping on that track, number 3 for me. And again, you guys are going to be pissed off because it's a duo and they relate to Fozzie Bear. But Statler and Waldorf, I can't separate the two. That's a tag team.
Yeah, but they don't make the top 5. So
okay, so they're not in your top 5. We'll maybe kick it around
because all right, we have 3 spots left, and they made it
2 spots,
and we haven't mentioned Kermit, Piggy, or Gonzo yet, which means one of them at least is not in your top 5.
One thing you can do when
one
you're
is definitely not.
But
how ridiculous is that?
But one of them has a special place in a different list that I will get to following that. Go ahead, Mark.
But one of the things when you're thinking about Muppets and the Muppet Show, as you are, right, is that there are different acts and troops and so forth within it, and Statler and Waldorf are certainly a duo, just as Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem is the house band. So it is an essence and a spirit all together in one. You don't have Waldorf by himself, typically speaking. No. He needs his his compatriot.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't
would
separate them,
accept
but
having them together.
They're the Road Warriors.
they're just not
You
in
know,
the top 5.
they're one of the greatest tag teams of all time and the greatest hecklers of all time. Number 2, who is my personal favorite just in terms of enjoyment and characterization, and that comes mostly from the Muppet Babies, and that is the weirdo, the daredevil, Gonzo himself, clocking in at number 2. I've always gravitated towards him more than any of the Muppets. And look, I love Kermit and everything, but especially on Muppet Babies, I just always related more to Gonzo and just how he used his imagination, in particular on the Muppet Babies show. I always just was so drawn to that. And then, when you go to the Muppet Show and like you were talking about Garth Brooks wanting to do the Evel Knievel stuff with Gonzo, all that stuff with him on there was really funny. And so I've always loved Gonzo. So
he's a chicken fucker.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, his girlfriend is a chicken. I can't believe you've done this to Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
I know what's going on. This is absurd. You're a sexist.
No, we're going to get to Miss Piggy. Don't worry, we'll get to Miss Piggy. But to no one's surprise, which is why I almost started at number 1, because it is the easiest slam dunk in list. It's Kermit the Frog at number 1. You can't pick anybody else. It's
the best.
Undeniable. Yeah. He is the Muppet, and he is the face of the brand, and he is one of the just major faces in entertainment. Kermit the Frog goes beyond just even being he is larger than life and is so recognizable, even when you don't know the other Muppets necessarily. You can recognize Kermit the Frog. He's their Hulk Hogan, Davis.
Your list is all over the place. I'm telling you right now, because you went because I asked you, and this is why I did it, because you went iconic and then you put your own little flavor in there of what you liked, and it was completely different. And Jeff is right. If you're going to go iconic, Miss Piggy has to be on there despite how you feel about her.
Well,
it's true.
So
Miss Piggy is
because she's the other most recognizable Muppet.
You mixed your feelings. You mixed them.
Well, and I'll get to that in a moment. But
to not even make the top 5?
Exactly. It's embarrassing, really.
Other than Miss Piggy, who did I miss that you guys would have liked to have seen in the top 5? Jeff, we'll start with you.
Well, all right. If we're talking Muppets, then yeah, I would have thrown Big Bird in there.
Okay, he would have been like the representative.
Well, I would have gone Kermit. I would have gone Piggy. I would have went Gonzo.
Would you put Elmo?
No, well, I really like Fozzy, so I think Fozzy would have been 5, and then maybe Big Bird, or actually maybe it would have went Kermit, Piggy, Big Bird, Gonzo, Fozzy.
Mark, who did I miss? I think I can guess one. Sweetums was not on my list, Mark. I'm sorry.
Sweetums is rad. Now, would he make a top 5 list? I don't know. Pepe the Shrimp?
No.
Pepe the Shrimp is amazing. Yeah.
No, Pepe the Prawn.
Pepe the Prawn, sorry.
Pepe
but
the Prawn
that's alliteration,
Pepe,
Mark,
man.
which you love so much.
Yeah, I know. But Pepe
callback
and Rizzo always strike high for me. And if you're talking about like antic segments, as you have Dr. Teeth and Statler and Waldorf, Swedish Chef.
He's great.
Swedish Chef nails it.
Swedish Chef was high up on the rankings too. Davis, you've been again taking Miss Piggy out of the equation. We'll give her shining moment, so to speak, in a moment. But Davis, who did I miss? Oh, great expert. I feel like you, out of everyone, are most pleased with my list.
Yeah, I will say you were on for most. I mean, if you're going iconic, I don't think Statler and Waldorf or Dr. Teeth make the list. If you're going favorites, they're both in my top 5. For sure.
I think Statler and Waldorf are the funniest Muppets. So
Statler and Waldorf would be right on the cusp, I think, of 5, 6. And I think personally, I'd go 1 to 5: Kermit, Piggy, Gonzo, Fozzy, and then Animal to break up the band.
Animal.
And then Statler and Waldorf.
Oh, okay. So all right,
That's a better list. I actually agree with that list.
I'd be fine with that list. That's a solid list.
And Jeff, I am
assholes.
I don't exactly see. I know they are Muppets on Sesame Street, but I don't personally, I was talking to James about this earlier. I don't personally
And
characterize
this also.
Sesame
Kermit
Street.
is on Sesame Street. He was
I know
a
he-
regular character.
I know
He,
he
he
is.
has a
Part of it,
job
yes.
there.
So I think
Yeah.
it's important for us to clarify for listeners what exactly a Muppet is then. Because yes, there is the Muppet Show, but there's also Sesame Street, and there is also
Fraggle Rock.
Fraggle Rock,
Yeah.
which I'll say. But I mean, a Muppet is something that was designed and created by Jim Henson Productions.
and his workshop.
And his
Yeah.
workshop, right. And that's what's created a Muppet. Because there's other puppet-related things like Avenue Q and Meet the Feebles and things like that we can go into.
Which we will talk about
Yeah.
later on.
But the emphasis of this show, I think, much more than just Muppets in general, is really the Muppet Show cast. Is what it seems
That
like we're
roster.
diving. Yeah.
Yeah, that is sort of why, and after talking with Davis, why I left off the Sesame Street characters
Yeah,
from
'cause
being on this list.
Definitely, if you go blended, I mean, Big Bird.
That's
Big
hard.
Bird.
I mean,
Got to. And maybe
You-
Elmo.
yeah, you
And-
get that. You go that deep.
Elmo-
I mean,
Yeah.
Man,
ooh.
Tickle Me Elmo. We've been talking collectibles. That thing, that was the real life Turbo Man toy.
I got
That-
one
that thing
upstairs.
took stores by, that was a phenomenon. I watched Sonny on WWF television make love to a giant-sized Elmo, so
Hell yeah.
that happened.
Muppets and Pro Wrestling, man.
Dude, I didn't realize it until
Stop.
this podcast, but
Stop.
they are actually
They're linked
super
together,
linked.
dude.
It's crazy. Now I can't think about Muppets without thinking about wrestling, and I hope everyone else is the exact same way.
Absurd.
Oh man, Davis, everything's really, you love wrestling, dude. I get it.
I could see
uh,
Sweetums as a wrestler.
Yeah,
Sweetums.
I can
Yup.
see Miss Piggy as a wrestler,
Yeah.
which is what
yeah.
brings me to my
Diva.
worst Muppet, and it's a list of one. My least favorite Muppet of all time is Miss Piggy. She is one of the
It's
rudest,
ridiculous.
meanest fictional characters on like children's programming. She's worse than Angelica from Rugrats. I hated Miss Piggy growing up. Like I felt so bad for Kermit. He was abused and assaulted in more ways than one by Miss Piggy. It was not okay. This is the original toxic relationship between her and
She's
Kermit.
a
It was
diva.
awful.
She's
I mean,
She's a
star.
diva and a starlet.
He does
And
give
you
it
treat
back
her as such.
like pretty good. I will say he doesn't just always take, because he will take it, but he fires it back on the pig stuff quite a bit.
What's great is Frank Oz once said that he described like playing Miss Piggy as a truck driver wanting to be a woman, and like understanding that
That's
headspace. I'm like,
perfect
yeah,
description.
totally
Absolutely.
see.
She is just an absolute beast creature. I never liked her. She was just awful. And it even extended to Muppet Babies. I felt so bad for Kermit. My favorite Muppet Babies episode is the one where Rolf loses his voice and they're doing like the story time round robin. And that's, when you get Kermit the Frog as Indiana Jones and you get Gonzo as Sherlock. It's a great episode. But in that, it's Miss Piggy putting herself in there as Sleeping Beauty and forcing Kermit to want to like kiss her and engage her physically, and he clearly doesn't want to. It's ridiculous.
All
Do
right,
not
Miss
like
Piggy on Muppet Babies was the worst, but the real Muppet the Muppet Miss Piggy was awesome and kind of sexy for a pig puppet.
Nice ham hocks.
These into Miss Piggy. Kermit.
I mean,
I've done worse.
they put some other female pig Muppets on that show, and they do not look like Miss Piggy. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Is Miss Piggy the hottest Muppet, Davis?
Oh,
The hottest
What about-
Muppet? No. I'd go. Janice has something about her stoner thing in the
Janice,
band.
for sure.
She's
Yeah.
pretty chill.
On my list.
All
Got
those
into
bangs.
that.
Not as curvy though, so not much going on
true.
there.
That's all right.
True.
And the other pig from the latest show, the one that Kermit was
yeah.
dating there.
She was down to
kinda hot.
earth.
Yeah. I never watched the show, but I saw what she
It
looked
was a
like. I
good
like,
show. It was a good show. Check it out.
All right, well let's get into what we touched on this a little bit, but our favorite sort of Muppet properties beyond just like the greatest Muppets. For me, and we can get into why, because I think all of us on here have some affinity. I think the Muppet Babies is just the best, and I know it's not, the actually using the Muppets as an animated show. It's a great cartoon though, and I just thought, going back and thinking about growing up watching the Muppet Babies, it was such a well done cartoon, and the characters on it, how they used pop culture stuff within the cartoon. I'd never seen that before. I'm not sure if I've really seen that since, the way they did it. Like in that episode that I referenced, they're using their imagination and like doing something in their crib, and it's like all of a sudden we're in the Death Star trench from Star Wars. Like as a kid, like that blew my mind that they could put in scenes from movies like that in the Muppet Babies. And it wasn't just like Star Wars. You'd see like clips from old Tarzan shows or things like that. It would be so totally random, almost like proto Family Guy in terms of the fact that they were making those references and stuff like that. And it made much more sense, and there was actually a point to it. But I love the Muppet Babies. Jeff, what did you like? What is so great about that show to you?
I think because I'm not a huge like puppet guy all that much. So in terms of like Muppet properties, Muppet Babies is my favorite because it is just animated. And I don't know, I kind of like the relationships between the characters more in Muppet Babies than I do in the Muppets. Like once I started watching the Muppet movies, I was kind of surprised that they weren't all as close friends as they were when they were all babies living together in the nursery.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought Fozzy and Kermit should be closer as adults than they were. And it's like Gonzo's not interested in Miss Piggy at all. It's like, but I mean, he obsessed about her as a baby.
I love that dynamic on the show, because Miss Piggy loved Kermit. He wasn't about it. And Gonzo loved Miss Piggy, and she couldn't give a shit about him. I loved that sort of that unrequited triangle.
That's why you relate to Gonzo.
It probably is. Probably is. Don't laugh too hard. Laugh it up, fuzzball.
But the other thing we were all thinking it. The other thing that I really liked about it was what you had already brought up, that it would be different scenes from shows and movies. One of my favorite episodes, or at least one that stands out in my memory, is when they're all playing the video games, and then so they're all in the different video game worlds. So Gonzo and Miss Piggy were both like Link from Legend of Zelda. Fozzy was playing Skate or Die, where he just kept getting attacked by all those skateboarders, and they were just beating the shit out of him throughout the entire cartoon. It was absurd.
Of all games to reference in the Muppet Babies, too, by the way.
Skate or Die was such a cool game back then. Man, what a time capsule show.
But was Skate or Die really so much on the public consciousness that it should be in Muppet Babies, or did the creators of Muppet Babies just like, dude, Skate or Die is awesome, let's put it in the show?
Put it in.
I don't know why, but I'm glad they did. I thought the whole thing was great. And also, I mean, I was really into like Nintendo at the time, so it was just kind of cool seeing them play all the games and be all the characters. And then another thing that stood out to me, it's like the end of an episode, and it's like Miss Piggy having a conversation with Alex P. Keaton, Michael J. Fox's character from Family Ties, where he was like asking her out. It was the most absurd thing, but I loved it.
Well, and I know they have a new Muppet Babies show, and I don't think that they can do it the same way. Like, if they were to be true to what the Muppet Babies was, is that they should have, Gonzo opening up the door to the closet, and, the Avengers are on the other side of it, or Thanos or something like that, and he slams it shut. I mean, there'd be so many times you'd see like TIE fighters and, all this stuff.
Well,
I feel like the boulder from Indiana Jones made several appearances. In
they
the Muppet
easily
Babies.
could because of the licensing, because Disney owns the Muppets now, and
Oh, that's a good point.
so they can do that. The problem is I don't know if they are or not, but if they're not, then they're missing out on exactly what you're talking about, because it's an easy licensing thing for them. They own it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that was such a big part of the series. I mean, it's even incorporated in the introduction.
Yes,
like
that's
Kermit
right.
being Indiana Jones is like, I remember all of that.
Yep.
And by the way, the intro to the series is one of the all-time great songs, and just instantly I remember how old I was, and I am transported back in time. So, yeah, the Muppet Babies definitely deserves their due. And we'll circle back one more time before we close the show about the Muppet Babies situation. But we got to move on for now. And we got to talk about the Muppet Show itself. And we talked about it a little bit, but one, it was really funny. But the list of guests, of A-list celebrities that they got on that show. Peter Sellers of the Pink Panther was on that show. Steve Martin, Elton John, like I talked about, Alice Cooper, and one of my favorites in character, the stars of Star Wars. You had Luke, 3PO, and R2-D2. Like, it was awesome. It's just like Johnny Cash was on the show. Like, the Muppet Show, and like the fact that they could attract that level of celebrity, again, to be on a show with Muppets, you know, these newfangled puppets is crazy to me. I just and I think from there, like, now it's, you're a dick as a celebrity if you don't want to do that show, you know?
No.
Yeah. I mean, some of the most memorable scenes that I remember from the original show, Milton Berle was on there, and him getting heckled by Statler and Waldorf. They went back and forth. I think it's like an 8-minute skit that you can watch online right now, and they get him, and it is so funny.
Did they make him cry or something like
no,
that?
no, but they got him good, and hey, obviously it's set up, but that's one of the most memorable things for me. But the Elton John Crocodile Rock, the Deo,
iconic.
Harry Belafonte, the Deo music. That was, I remember that like it was yesterday. And like you said, Luke Skywalker being on in the pigs in space.
Like, yeah, dude, you talking about the Muppets going on, you know, and being treated as if they're in character. You had Luke Skywalker as a guest with the Muppets. It's eating that up as a kid. It's awesome.
And Muppets
so
Tonight.
Cool.
Muppets Tonight brought just as good as celebrities on. Prince, Whoopi Goldberg, the little annoying guy. Godfrey.
Gilbert Gottfried.
Gilbert Gottfried was on.
Gonzo?
He was great. But Prince, it was during his whole phase when he was doing the artist formerly known as The Symbol.
Yeah.
And that was one of the skits. It was like they couldn't say the name and nobody would let him say it, and they'd just point to the symbol, and it was just hilarious. But it was just
and he fucked Miss Piggy. Like, we know that happened.
And that was one thing that all the different
got ooze sexuality.
All the Muppet properties, I mean, between even like
Sex with
Sesame
Kermit,
Street and Fraggle Rock, that like celebrity and people love to interact with these characters, kind of heralding back to the first conversation we had. There'd always be these cameos of people guest starring, and I mean, just you talking about Prince's stint on there, Davis, makes me think of his guest spot on Sesame Street, where a Starfish and Coffee is by far and away like one of my favorite Sesame Street songs to ever like come out. Check it out, Starfish and Coffee by Prince. And I just love that they've always done that kind of cross promotion with like real world celebrities. It helps ingrain them into reality, basically, as characters.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some of the movies that are near and dear to our hearts. The Muppet Cinematic Universe. We'll start with Muppet Treasure Island for you, Mark. What is it about Muppet Treasure Island that just speaks to you? Because I remember growing, like, I liked it, but again, such a weird kid. I always liked the older Disney version of it, and so I remember bristling. It's like, hey, let's watch Muppet Treasure Island. It's like, oh, we got a regular one we could watch with just actual pirates.
With like grainy color.
These were great pirates.
I was obsessed with pirates. I wanted to watch a movie that just had pirates and not the Muppets in it. I really enjoyed Muppet Treasure Island. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying. I was a weird kid. But why did you love Muppet Treasure Island, Mark?
Muppet Treasure Island was a quintessential pirate flick. Because what was great is it wasn't unabashedly like just Muppety. Like, it wasn't Kermit and Fozzy and things like that. It was people playing characters within Treasure Island. Very much in the sense that Christmas Carol was done. And just the way that they like try to play it really straight laced, and how they incorporate a lot of different people, like what was it, Sam Sam Eagle,
Sam the Eagle,
as Mr.
yeah.
Arrow. His whole characterization in there was phenomenal. But the music was top notch. The music was top notch. Shiver My Timbers, the intro song to Treasure Island, is the greatest pirate song to have ever been created.
What about Cabin
broadcast.
Fever?
No. Cabin Fever was the weak point. I'll be fair.
Cabin
Fever,
dude, people
was the
love
weak point.
Cabin Fever, dude.
Cabin Fever was the weak point. But
I
there's
don't
got to
get
be
you,
something
Mark.
better.
That's a hot take.
It's absolutely great. I mean, just Tim Curry and Bill Connolly in there in the mix, and I think the fact that they brought Jim Hawkins in as an actual human character to get more emotion and feel on this journey, and having his sidekicks of Gonzo and Rizzo worked extremely well with developing that story.
Tim Curry was amazing.
His
in
Long
Treasure
John
Island
was amazing.
Yeah,
he stole that
really
movie.
Like
Curry's awesome in everything, man.
He really did. He steals the show in that movie, and he probably is the best Long John Silver that we've got on screen.
He said it. Even better than your other Disney one?
Look, looking back, I was wrong, okay? But he's the best Long John Silver. I will give him that much. All right, Muppet Christmas Carol. Some people like the George C. Scott version. I am very partial to that one myself. Some people like the Patrick Stewart version. I forget the Alistair whatever version. I forget his last name, but people like him. There's been lots of versions of Christmas Carol, but the Muppet Christmas Carol really, really stands out to so many people that I do feel like it is the go-to for a lot of, certainly people in our generation, for when you want to watch a version of that movie. That's the one they go to. Davis, why is that?
Well, I will say Mark said something about Tim Curry and the other actors in Treasure Island, just how they interact, and this is something that we've been talking about all night, is like how people interact with Muppets. Michael Caine in A Christmas Carol said that the only way that he could do this movie when they asked him to do it was if he took it seriously, if he saw it like he was acting with real actors, and that's how he acted. And you watch that movie again, he doesn't drop a beat. It's like a regular like acting film for him. If you watch the new Muppet movie like with Jason Segel, that's not acting Jason Segel. That's Muppet Jason Segel, and I don't like that. But Michael Caine really carried that movie. But with the Muppets right there with him. And there's just so many good heartfelt scenes in A Christmas Carol that it just brings Christmas together for you. And if you have the original version, there's a very long scene that gets cut out of every version because it is so sad.
Kermit again.
It is so sad. It's when he loses the love of his life. When Scrooge loses the love of his life, it's this drawn out love breakup song pretty much, and it is sad. Like you're gonna cry. And they don't want to play it because it doesn't always fit in with the Muppets. So if you watch the TV version now, it's not in there, and you have to watch the original version if you want the full cut.
Some Muppet lore.
Yeah, there you go. But it's just a feel good movie. Statler and Waldorf are again great. Fozzy, I think one of Fozzy's greatest roles outside of the original Muppet movie. So. Yeah,
it was nice to see. A lot of times when comedians go serious, sometimes it doesn't work. But a great comedian like Fozzy, he's so versatile that I really appreciate.
It's like Robin Williams.
Yes,
it's his dramatic work I respect the most.
And Gonzo and Rizzo again.
Dude, what if we cast Fozzy in like a Death to Smoochie remake?
Gonzo and Rizzo act as the narrators in this, and just like in Treasure Island, they're the side characters, and it works really well. And they're just like. As the angel's flying out with Scrooge, he's like swinging a hook and latching onto the feet, just getting torn through the tree. It's great. Like having those two characters narrate it really, really took it home as well. And I gotta say, Sam the Eagle again in a great role as the headmaster for Scrooge when he was a kid.
It's just like this uptight bird.
I love Sam the Eagle. He's very underrated.
Yeah, I agree with him being underrated. Jeff, is Muppet Christmas Carol, is that the best Christmas Carol to you, or It is
I like the Disney one with Scrooge McDuck as Scrooge and
okay.
Mickey Mouse as Bob Cratchit. But I absolutely do love the Muppets Christmas Carol. I think it might be my favorite Muppets film, actually. And I did watch it this last Christmas. I mean, obviously he didn't make my list, but I do love Rizzo the Rat. And he and Gonzo together are so great. And so, I mean, kind of like what Chris was saying, it's like whenever they do these types of movies, those characters are kind of front and center, and they're always playing off of like the lead humans. And I always think they do a really good job. And then, of course, I mean, Kermit is great.
Yeah,
and I mean, I know we were at least talking about it in the outline and stuff. It's no coincidence that Kermit is playing Bob Cratchit, and Mickey Mouse played Bob Cratchit. I mean,
yes,
I don't know. It seems to be the part that the lead guy sort of plays. So yeah, it's interesting seeing those comparisons. I don't know which one acted better. I thought they both did a good job.
they're both top tier. Both of them. We can't not talk about the original Muppet movie though, just because I mean, one, it made a boatload of money. It's important the fact that like that movie got made and it spawned all of these other movies and everything like that beyond just the Muppet movies, I feel like too. That was definitely a mainstay of my childhood on the VHS tape scene, was watching the original Muppet movie. But in terms of ones that maybe we didn't hit on, do you have a hidden gem, Mark, from the Muppet universe that you would like to get out there?
Muppets from
Space. I see grinning like a Cheshire cat.
Muppets from Space. If you're talking found soundtracks, that is one of the greatest of all times. Gonzo's adventure to find out where he came from, and it is just laden with funk soundtrack, and and that was another blockbuster staple for the around the store.
Davis, anything that you want to point out?
I mean, I gotta say the original Muppet movie is the best of the non-Treasure Island Christmas Carol. Like, to me, that's hands down. Watch it. The cameos in that movie from Steve Martin, Richard Pryor, it's amazing. And the songs in that movie, I think probably the top 3 or 4 songs of all Muppet songs are in that movie personally. And it's just really well done. So, but outside of that, I go Muppets Take Manhattan isn't bad. But I'm not huge on the other ones.
Got it. Jeff, any Muppet movie that we missed?
Just the movies?
Or anything.
Because show-wise, I love Dinosaurs. I thought that was a great show. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk
I still consider them Muppets, so.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, we will talk. We can get into more of that in sort of terms of what like the Muppets sort of spawned and everything like that. We got one more segment on the Muppets coming up on the Best Damn Nerd Show. Welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. One final segment here on the Muppets until we talk about them the next time, because the Muppets are a big effing deal, which we have demonstrated throughout tonight's episode. And I want to talk about, get into a little bit of debate, some this versus that, some questions that need to be answered. And let's start with the Muppets and Sesame Street, all the crossover, but where is the line between Muppets and Sesame Street? Because when I was putting together that top 5 list, I did consult Davis in terms of what I should include. It is staggering the obvious influence that the Muppets has on Sesame Street, which is like maybe the most landmark children's show of all time. What to you, Jeff Budd, is sort of the delineation there and just the impact of the Muppets on Sesame Street?
Well, I mean, I don't think there is a line. I don't think there is anything like that. They are Muppets. They're a part of the Muppet family. And of course, who's the iconic Muppet who kind of hops into both areas? It's Kermit. Kermit's a regular on Sesame Street. As a kid, it was one of those things where it's like I popped big when I saw Kermit the Frog on Sesame Street. I was like, "Hey, it's Kermit!" And he was a reporter. He's doing he's Kermit the Frog for Sesame Street News.
Yeah, maybe that's one of Kermit's best roles too.
And that was my favorite part of Sesame Street. I'm not a huge Sesame Street guy. I mean, as a kid, I had like the play set and everything. I think most of my Muppet toys were probably Sesame Street toys. But I liked Kermit. I liked Grover. I liked Elmo, and I liked Big Bird. Like, all of them were good, and I mean, they take up most of the show, so I mean, I guess all of that was fine. But I mean, yeah, those are clearly Muppets to me. I maybe I cast a wider net with what I consider a Muppet than other people, but I mean, they're definitely right there. They're their own division because they're all
Yes.
about Sesame Street, but that's because they live on Sesame Street. That's what they do. That's where they are. The other Muppets are kind of global, travel around. They, do more like primetime programs and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I mean, if you're just hanging out in that neighborhood, there they are.
Yeah, I think calling it the Sesame Street division is very apt. I loved Cookie Monster when we're talking about Muppets on Sesame Street. He was my favorite, maybe to the shock of no one. But I loved Cookie Monster, and I hate what has become of him. That he is like this veggie monster now. That cookies are sometimes.
Well, it's because kids
so
are fat,
stupid.
and I don't blame junk food. I blame awful
Cookie
parents.
Monster?
I blame screen time. I blame school budgets being cut and there being less PE and recess than there used to be. I mean, when we were kids, you could eat as many cookies as you want. You look fine. Now we got a bunch of little fat kids that, it's like you have to give them carrot sticks. And stupid parents who don't understand. It's like, that puppet is imitatable. You make him eat vegetables. It's like, no, I mean, I never ate a plate full of chocolate chip cookies because Cookie Monster did it. In fact, as a kid, I used to think Cookie Monster was kind of an ass. And so I mean, I was certainly not a fan. I also wasn't going around my house counting everything because the stupid vampire was doing it.
The count.
You
One,
didn't like the count?
two.
No, I like the count just fine. And I do think it's kind of weird. I mean, obviously he's the count, and that's why he counts things. But Chinese vampire lore, if you want to escape a vampire, you throw a bunch of rice on the floor. They are forced, they are compelled to pick it up one piece at a time and count it. And I don't know. Is
that why they did that?
No, I think it's because he's the count. But, I mean, it's just kind of cool that coincidence is there, right? And if you're ever in China and dealing with vampires, I just saved your life. So
You did.
carry a bunch of rice in your pocket. Because they have to get one at a time. They have to do it, so it'll take them forever.
Even in just talking about it, I can't help but think about the Dave Chappelle sketch talking about Sesame Street and just all the different characters. That is maybe the greatest stand-up comedian of all time. Certainly in the conversation, talking about the Muppets in one of his most memorable bits that he has ever done. Talking about Oscar the Grouch, like, bitch, I live in a fucking trash can and stuff like that. Nobody's helping me. Everything. You're a grouch. But I loved Grover as well, and Super Grover. He had a superhero on Sesame Street. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was definitely a Cookie Monster guy, and I think shame on whoever is in charge of that TV show for changing the Cookie Monster to become this veggie monster. It is just so stupid to take that away from. Just don't put him on the show. If you have to fucking do that, it's so asinine. But not every kid is fortunate enough to have a Jeff Budd or a James Kincaid to eat all of their cookies while they're away, so that they don't fill up on them.
Oh, that's. I forgot what you were talking about for a second.
we were Cookie Monsters at one point in time in Mark's household.
Well, those are really good cookies. Yeah. Okay, maybe Cookie Monster did influence us.
Circus animal cookies. They're delicious. Yeah. You stole all of them from my hungry daughter's mouth.
Oh.
Not from her mouth. It came from the bag, and she wasn't there. But
It saved her. Mark,
tell the full story.
Do you have any thoughts on the Sesame Street Muppets conversation?
Yeah. So I mean, I love Sesame Street, and I've been watching it with my daughter, and I feel like it's gone a little Elmo heavy now.
Well, Elmo,
give the people what they want, man.
He's the guy.
Elmo's their Stone Cold Steve Austin. Came out of nowhere. Now he's rocked the record shop.
He's the big cock on the block.
He is short.
He's the joke. He's the Joker short. Of Sesame Street.
He's definitely their Wolverine.
But
or Stone Cold.
The whole thing between like Sesame Street and the Muppet Show ensemble, it's like you can almost equate it to how there's mutants and then there's the X-Men. Right, and the Muppet Show ensemble is the X-Men of mutant kind, but the Muppets transcend just what's on the Muppet Show. You got Sesame Street, you got Fraggle Rock, you got all these other properties, because it's really like a race of puppet.
Fraggle Rock is the Morlocks.
Yeah.
dude, that is
A little bit. They live underground.
1,000.
And they're not
They
as
just
popular.
eat radishes.
Yeah,
What's with all the radishes? I don't
I
get
don't
it.
like them. Oh god, a Fraggle Rock episode. Skip.
Why do they always eat the buildings of those little guys?
Fraggle Rock's okay.
Warlocks.
They got some good songs. They have a
Fraggle
really
Rock's
good one
Come
with
to Fraggle
Warlocks.
Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do we stand on Eureka's Castle in this world?
That's not They're not.
They're
that's
not-
not Jim Henson, is that? Or is it?
No, it's not. No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Bear in the Big
No,
Blue
no.
House.
Yeah. I just whenever I hear Fraggle Rock, I just immediately always think Eureka's Castle as well.
Dude, Fraggle
Okay.
Rock's all right. The new Fraggle Rock on Apple TV. Check it out.
God, you shill.
It's a little mini
What's wrong?
episode.
Mark, what did you?
Dude,
how
they're
deep
like
in
five-
are you, dude?
they're like 5
How'd you
minutes.
get that free trial?
Yeah.
Did Apple buy DC?
You give them a credit card and they charge you 7 days.
They were probably handed DC. It's worth nothing now.
Oh my god.
Sad.
Not after we blew smoke up its rear. Soaring high now.
I'm just saying the
Everybody
new
loves DC.
Common song with the Fraggles. It's delightful.
Fraggle Rock was better when they didn't have guest stars. Like that was one thing about Fraggle Rock. It was its own like little universe.
Yeah,
and they
why
did their
why
own
would
thing.
you go there? Look terrible. It's
Yeah.
like live in a shithole.
You,
Only that old
wait-
man knew that the Fraggles existed.
Yeah,
you ate the Muppets?
Mhm.
don't like it. Okay, I want to talk about this debate now, and it's not really a debate. It's a simple question: is Yoda a Muppet? Davis.
Yes. Yoda is a Muppet because he was indeed created by the Jim Henson production. And
Where's the
they had-
felt?
They had a huge hand in Yoda.
Well, Frank
But,
Oz
like-
certainly.
Well,
did.
I mean, I don't think it's that big. He's a small Muppet.
You might say average.
Nobel Prize, Otto. Nobel Prize.
but
I'm gonna
it's
start using that more.
that is
Get that drop.
that is the line for a Muppet. But like we were saying, anything created by that production company is a Muppet. The Muppets are just like the show to me, and to me, you know, Yoda was built by that production company, therefore he is indeed a Muppet.
Okay, so he was operated by Frank Oz exclusively. They did consult with
As was Miss Piggy.
Jim Henson, but
He
they
sounds
were-
just like Grover.
But he was. He does. He was
It's the
not
exact same
cons-
voice that
but-
Oz is using.
But Jim Henson did not create the Yoda thing, and Frank Oz has gone on record and said that it is wrong. You know, he went on record and said that it's wrong to call Yoda a Muppet. So
Because George Lucas is a bully. That's why.
you think that's why? Okay, so
you
Jeff,
you
where
go
do
out
come
and
down?
you tell them he's not a Muppet.
I own this.
Yeah.
So where do you come down on it,
It's
Jeff?
mine.
It's Disney's now.
For $4 billion, why not? As far as the character and the concept, all of that is George Lucas's. He created the character Yoda. As far as the physical representation, I do believe it is a Muppet. The fact that, I mean, Jim Henson's workshop wasn't like officially working with the Star Wars movies, but it was like sort of not off the books, but it was to like
Consulted.
an unofficial. Yeah, they consulted, but they also like worked on it too. And
Yeah.
it was staff of Jim Henson's that made the Muppet. It's just, I mean, I thought that was always just George Lucas's way of like screwing over the unions and everything like that, that everybody was kind of working off the books or in weird ways and doing things in different countries and stuff like that. I mean, the original Star Wars movies, there's a lot of, you know, bizarre shit behind the scenes as far as just, you know, how George Lucas was keeping as much of the property to himself as possible. And so that's what I think it is. The story, obviously, the character concept, the character itself, that's George Lucas. But he is a Muppet in the Muppet family.
Interesting. Mark, where do you come down?
I feel like a Muppet needs to have felt. That's just my feel of it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. If Yoda had a little more of like a fuzzy demeanor to
He
himself,
looked pretty fuzzy, man.
just old man ears, you know.
Yeah.
But I think if he had a little more felt to himself, he looked a little sticky. I'm able to delineate him separate from the Muppet family. He was waxy.
Dude, you've been watching the prequels too much. We're talking about real Yoda here. We're talking Empire Strikes Back Yoda.
The best version.
We're talking one arguing, fighting for the little flashlight for R2-D2.
I think it's
eating
hard
his little
to
candy
argue.
bar rations.
I think, the character of Yoda obviously is a George Lucas creation, but the implementation was using a Muppet. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I think your explanation of that was spot on. It's like they used a Muppet to represent a character that George Lucas created. And that to me is sort of the long and short of it. It is interesting that Frank Oz, you say it's because George Lucas was bullying him.
I bet it was.
I maybe more look like that it's sort of protecting Jim Henson's brand and his creations. It's like, look, he didn't really create this thing. So it's like, I don't want to extend that to, this thing that we don't have full control over.
Yeah, and I mean, Yoda is a Star Wars character and all of that, and I would think it would be out of place for Yoda to just like pop up on Sesame Street or be in a Muppets movie. I mean, like I said, it's like I cast a wide net.
Star Wars were there.
Yeah, good point, I guess. And then they did have that Yoda Muppet later that was much more like Muppet-fied, where I think Mark would approve of it. But
Felty Mark.
Yeah, it was much
So
more
felty.
felty. So I
Very
guess it's the way you would
tactile.
like it.
God.
But yeah, the way you said it, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think it takes anything away from George Lucas. They just needed to implement the
I think it
character
needed to be
with a Muppet.
separated contractually, and for future
And that's
monetary
fine.
reasons.
I mean, he's not officially a Henson product or whatever, but I mean, we all know what he is.
So did any of the other like puppets and things in Star Wars come from his studio though? I mean, I'm talking like Jabba and Salacious Crumb.
Yeah, I thought they worked on all of
that.
that stuff. Yeah. I thought that's what it was. Those people were the staff that kind of created all of those things. Yeah, I think. I mean, I haven't looked into it enough. I was reading up on just like the Muppet scholars that were debating each other online.
Muppet sages.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I mean, Davis could have fit right in, I suppose. It's like with his Muppet lore knowledge and everything. But I mean, yeah, that's what it sounded like, is that they worked on all of those, the creature shop, basically. They had to create everybody like in the cantina and things like that.
All right. I want to move on from is Yoda a Muppet and just talk about Kermit the Frog in comparison to Mickey Mouse, because in getting ready for this, I just sort of started thinking about that a lot more. And I love, a lot of Disney properties, and I love Mickey, and they do share sort of a similar role, obviously, as the standard bearer for their respective franchises. So in terms of which one do you like more, I don't think that you can argue. Look, the mouse, Disney is like just a kingly company that like they have an empire that is, I think, dwarfs most things out there. So I'm not saying that Kermit has sold more or anything like that. That's a non-starter. It's kind of like Sega versus Super Nintendo. But in terms of
Sega.
Kermit versus
Sega.
When you were playing Punch Out on it, Mark, it was great. But in terms of Kermit versus
Never gonna live it
Mickey,
down.
Davis, where do you come down?
Okay, so this, not to disrupt the mouse. I don't want that mouse coming down and putting the hammer on this podcast if we talk ill of him. But Mickey Mouse is a cartoon. And
yes.
when you see a physical version of him,
Well done.
he's just like this.
Kermit
figure.
was also a cartoon on Muppet Babies.
I don't. Kermit to me is a very big physical pop culture celebrity. Mickey Mouse is just like, he's just an icon. He's an icon to me.
That's what pop culture is.
He is a logo. That is for sure.
It's very different, and I think Kermit can really, for me, Kermit kind of just fits into human culture better because he is this physical presence. People do see him as a being with a soul, and I don't think people see Mickey Mouse as that.
And lest we forget the Kermit the Frog drinking tea meme, which just swept the nation. So we can't let that go on. I don't think Mickey has a exactly, the none of my business meme. I don't think Mickey has a rejoinder for that. Jeff, where do you stand?
Well, the way you had it in the outline, it's like which one is Mario and which one is Sonic. And I mean, Mickey Mouse is Mario.
Yes.
And Bugs Bunny is Sonic, and Kermit the Frog is not in the conversation.
Wow, I like it. I mean, I don't necessarily have to agree with it, but I like.
If we're talking about who's the most likable, I like Kermit the Frog the most. But he's not on the same level as those two guys.
That's
Bigger
I hadn't even
properties, bigger
considered Bugs Bunny.
companies. That's why it was such a big deal in Who Framed Roger Rabbit that Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny were on screen together talking to one another. I mean, I still think that's a big deal. It's just kind of awesome that they did that. I mean, those are real icons and legends speaking.
Neither one of them were
like
on Who Wants to
rivals,
Be a
but-
Millionaire, though.
Well, I mean, I think Davis makes a good point though, as far as when it comes to like the physical world. I mean, yeah, I've taken my picture with Mickey Mouse when I was a kid, but I mean, that's not Mickey Mouse. That's not the real Mickey. But it's like if I were to meet Kermit in the audience at Who Wants to Be a
that's
Millionaire,
cool.
that's the real Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, there's only one.
Yeah.
Marco, where do you stand?
I mean, it's Mickey over Kermit. I'm not gonna. I'm a Disney fanboy for sure, and
I've seen
Kermit's
those pictures on your
phenomenal.
wall.
Yeah, I mean, Disney.
And why do you shit on Marvel?
That's a newer acquisition. All right. Mickey Mouse,
That's fair.
far and away. I mean, Mickey Mouse is like Superman in the global like iconography out there. Superman's bigger than Kermit, without a doubt.
Yeah.
There's no competition in there, just as Mickey was. And so if you're going to compare the two, I think it's almost unfair. But as far as in their respective roles in their own sphere and universes, they're kindred spirits to each other. They're both like just trying to make the best of every situation. They're so likable and they're both quirky. There's a lot of similarities between the both of them. And I love Mickey Mouse, so I'm not going to say a single disparaging thing against him and all the Disney ninjas listening. But
that's true. We love the mouse in this house.
yeah. I think there's got to be a crossover, though. I mean, unless I'm daft, and undoubtedly so.
Well, I think,
No.
that
But
Disney
has
should
there
buy the
been one?
Muppets. Just completely. I think they should reincorporate them more. I think that in terms of characters of the respective logos of their brands, I think Kermit's more likable, and I think he has more of a character around him that's easy to relate to by the very nature of the shows and stuff they've done with him. But you're right, which is why I didn't frame it in terms of who sold more. Look, Disney and the mouse ears that go along with it are unassailable in terms of their reach. So, but I did think it was interesting, and I'm glad Jeff brought up the fact that, look, they're the respective, like when they're doing a Christmas Carol, they're going to be Bob Cratchit and everything like that. Okay, as we're winding down here, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, things of that nature. Davis, where does that fit in the scope of Muppetdom?
It is totally under the Henson umbrella, obviously. They're not the Muppets, they are Muppet characters, and they are fantastic movies. If you have not seen the original Dark Crystal, or even the new Dark Crystal TV series, which was phenomenal, I thought, or The Labyrinth. If you haven't seen Labyrinth, you're not my friend. That is where I draw the line in the sand.
Dark Crystal.
That's fine. I'm okay with that. But if you have not seen The Labyrinth, we cannot be friends. We're not gonna talk, because that is my childhood. And it's also really weird because she was not of age in that movie, and they, back then in the 80s, they drew that line. Bowie, Bowie was looking to secure her as his.
He's the Goblin
wife.
King, so I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's all right. Yeah.
And we could get into Twilight too about all the
Yeah.
weirdness going on there.
But
Guy's a
it's so
100-year-old vampire.
It's so fantastical. The creatures they built for the Labyrinth and Dark Crystal are just phenomenal. Just the creativity that went into building those worlds, those universes, it's just magical. And I think there's a couple documentaries about it, a couple books about how those movies were made. If you get a chance, pick them up, because it's very interesting.
Talk about when you cosplayed Davis
Yeah.
as the Goblin King.
It was the year David Bowie passed, and David Bowie has been one of my favorite artists since I was a kid. and when he passed, it was one of those celebrities that actually hit you. And it's weird saying that, but him and Prince, when they passed, that was really big for me. But that was the same year too, and that year was also I think it was the 25th anniversary of the Labyrinth, and so I just, I like to cosplay when we go to Comic-Con when I can, and that one,
You crushed it.
thank you. It was a lot of fun to do, and I put a lot of time into finding each individual piece. It wasn't like a, Halloween boutique costume or anything. I made sure that I found each individual piece and put it together myself, and I built his pendant out of paper mache and all that. So it was a lot of fun to do, and I got a lot of compliments at the con. A lot of people wanted to take pictures, obviously, and got one girl asked me to come back with her one night, so that was nice.
Wow.
But that could not happen at the time. So
Cosplay plays,
you
dude.
didn't
Well
do it?
done. He was
Like, you're not a newborn babe. I can't do this.
I love Jeff going for the X-Men. Oh man, you were
But-
the Goblin King though.
I was the Goblin King. It wasn't me. But no, so
All's fair in cosplay.
and the one thing I had to decide between was the crystal ball or getting a doll baby to like toss around.
You chose well.
I went the crystal ball route.
yeah, you
So
chose wisely.
It's easier to walk around and you don't have to deal with everything. So
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, look, the cosplays you've done at Comic-Con are always great. But that one was really cool because of just how much it meant to you personally, and just you 1,000% nailed it. And as Jeff will tell you, better than all the other ones we saw there that year too.
Yeah.
It was just,
Yeah, you blew them out of the water.
there was one family with a baby that was like, "Oh, can we take your picture?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. Can I hold your kid?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." No, you cannot. You cannot have our child.
that's so good. I remember going up the escalator and like the baby song breaking out.
Yeah.
That was good.
It was just
the
like, it
the
was good
song
stuff.
broke out multiple times that day, and they would like stop to sing it, and then I'd sing the next line, they'd sing the next line, then it'd go back and forth. It was a lot of fun.
So one of the things I'm trying to do here at the Best Damn Nerd Show is get a little bit more of a handle on our total runtime. So we are running short on time. But Davis, I know you've watched the new Disney Plus Muppets series. If you could quickly give us your thoughts on it.
They are trying to go back to their roots. It is still like has adult tones and all that. Still have the celebrity guests. They're definitely going for the new age, trying to get the kids in because it's very web-based. It almost looks like they're doing like a quarantine show where Scooter and Kermit are putting this show together through like iMovie. They're like, okay, we got to get this together. It's due right now. But it's hit and miss for sure. They're leaning quite heavily so far in the first 3 episodes that they've released on Dr. Honeydew, Beaker, and then also the Swedish Chef, which I thought have been interesting to lean on them so heavily, and then Miss Piggy.
Oh yes, of course.
Love me
One of-
some Swedish Chef.
One of my favorites.
Then you're gonna like the first three episodes because he's in every single one. So, not enough Statler and Waldorf for my taste.
The final thing I want to discuss before we close, and I think we've established what the legacy and the impact of the Muppets is. However, my favorite thing, beyond just the Muppet Babies, is the Muppet Babies situation that we've created over the years. And we touched on this a little bit, I think, when we've been talking about Comic-Con and everything like that. But Jeff, explain what the Muppet Babies situation is and how it pertains to us here at the Best Damn Nerd Show.
Okay, so back when Mark lived in San Diego and was closest to the convention center, we would all crash at his place during San Diego Comic-Con. And he had like this L-shaped couch, which was really cool. And then we would put this air mattress in the living room. And once you inflate it,
double stuffed.
yeah, it was double stuffed, so it was really high up. And then it's like once you inflate it, we would just kind of push it next to the couch, so it all became this giant crib for adults. And we would do a Muppet Babies in the living room, which is where we would all just sleep together on the couch and the mattress. And I mean, it was just all of us together, and it was adorable. And that's what always stood out to me, is it was like one of the 2 cribs in Muppet Babies, which as a child I always thought was really cool. that it
Yep.
was 4 in each crib, and that nobody was assigned to a single crib. They would change it up every episode. I was like, that seems like so much fun. It's like, I only had one sibling. I was like, this must have been awesome if I had like a bunch of brothers and sisters.
And we got to live out that dream
Every
through
year,
Comic-Con
every
and the
summer.
Muppet Babies situation. And
We were
I'm
Muppet
so
Babies.
glad when you came upon like that terminology too, because I think it was like at Mark says, yeah, we could sort of Muppet Babies it. You know, it's like
It's
yes.
a perfect description. You know
Yes,
exactly
we
what I'm
can.
talking about.
Yeah, so when we go to a hotel, when we return to Comic-Con, hopefully gloriously next year, we will inform the front desk that we would like the Muppet Babies suite, and hopefully that they will be able to accommodate it appropriately. One of the stories I want.
Are we able to Muppet Babies it, sir? It's like, oh yeah, we can totally put a cot in between the two beds.
the Kermit suite. One of the things that it's very inside, but you know, one of the takeaways from the Muppet Baby situation was Jeff and I waking up in our makeshift, you know, super crib, watching Mark walk his dog out on the front lawn, and just Mark has a very up and down relationship with his family dog here.
Mark hates his dog, and Mark's dog doesn't respect him because
But
he
I
has a
treat him
relationship
well.
with his wife.
I treat him well. I will throw it out there.
You're his
Jeff and I,
bitch.
as we eased into a soft morning, Mark's just sort of like scolding the dog. It's like sort of like I'm in charge. You know?
No, dude, no, it wasn't even that. It was we were coming back at night, so we were changing into our pajamas.
Oh, that's right.
and
That's right.
and so you and I are in our Muppet Babies crib, and we're just like on our knees with our hands on like the top of the couch looking out the window. And so if you were walking by, you would just see our two little faces at the window staring at Mark in the cold, waiting for Fritz to take a shit so he could come back in and hang out with his friends.
That's what it was. Yeah, no, seeing Mark do it another morning, I think you were still asleep and I was just watching.
That's what we do, Mark. We just watch you.
That's part of the Muppet Babies adventures. But, you know, also honorable mention, she couldn't make my list because she's never been in Muppet form, but shout out to Nanny from Muppet Babies, you know? I mean, God,
Props.
yeah, shout out Nanny. So I think no better note to end it on than you know, for Nanny, for the Muppet Babies. What a great time. You know, just everything that's been. This has been a real fun episode going down and talking Muppets with you all. We will be talking about them again, I'm sure, at some point in the future, because we're going to be doing more Muppet Baby situations. It's got to happen. But until next time, have a great week, everyone. And remember, if you're a nerd, always say it loud and say it proud. Hey, Nerdosphere, Bimbo Jimbo here. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want early access to this show, then you need to go to bestdamnnerdshow.com/Patreon. There is a bevy of content out there for you, and I hope you enjoy it all. Thank you so much for your support.